myself is that I think my father was the most successful failure in the world. And I'm very, very proud of him. And I remember him as a very gentle person, 6 feet tall, very Pathan, gray eyes, brown hair, very handsome. I also remember the first time I went to Peshawar with him. You know, the whole family was over 6 feet 2 inches, very fair, very beautiful. And I remember the whole family met me first time, and I was about 14, and they speak Hindko there, like Punjabi. And they looked at me and said, "Innu ki ho gaya? Ete Pathan lagda hi nahi hai." You know, so I'm that kind of Pathan. And he taught me a lot of things. He died when I was 15. And as years are going by, I remember, and he obviously, like any father, was in love with his daughter. And she was very beautiful. Everyone used to think she looked like Jane Fonda. Meri puri family bahut sundar hai. Just to let you know. So she was extremely beautiful. And when my father died, I remember he was getting well. Then I went to the hospital one night, and he was dead and cold. His feet were very cold. So I touched his feet, and he was very peaceful and dead, and not looked like the handsome Pathan he was. It's very thin. And I had never driven a car. I was 15. This chapter is called The Train to Pakistan. I finally learned that life isn't a timed test where the goal is to make a list of shouldas, couldas, wouldas on January 1st and finish as fast as possible with every answer correct and be perfect about it. I have taken sayings, what people have said, and started my chapter. So I won't read the whole chapter and bore you, but I'll describe the portion when my father, who had taken me twice to Peshawar, and we had gone always through Amritsar, walked through to Lahore, where I even did a film called Veer Zara, which brought back a lot of memories. And I cried there because I had done the same with my dad. So I'm just reading you the last part, where the second time we went, every time my father told me a lot of stories about how wonderful his hometown was, Kisa Khani and Lahori di Hatti, and kitne log khush the aur kitne achhe the. My father, by the time I was born, wasn't doing well business-wise. Wives, as they are always, were, you know, tum kuch karte kyun nahi, kind of a thing. So I think he needed to go back to his past to keep on telling me how wonderful it was. And he took me twice to Peshawar. This is the second time in 1980 when he took me. So I'm just reading the last bit, which I read to Shoma. My father got me back to Peshawar once again in 1980. The second time round was also turning out to be as exciting. But without my knowledge, there was something else taking place right under my nose. I was told by my father's friend that all this niceness that my cousins were showing me was to impress my father into leaving his share of property in their names. I still don't believe that was true, but my father seemed to be dejected when we returned back to India. My father was always very proud of his family and their achievements. But in retrospect, I think that his going back to his family was not as great an experience as he'd anticipated. He was a very loving and gentle person, never having screamed at us or reprimanded us. He had left his house when he was 16. He had tried desperately to try and make things work in India. I think at times when he felt he hadn't succeeded with his duties to his family in India, he had taken courage from the fact that his family in Pakistan had brought him up well, and he would be able to fight back. Maybe his journey back home was to refresh this resolve, and he had taken his little son along to give him a taste of his lineage. I think it was like trying to revisit his past and pass it on to his future. It's like when you're a little lost, you try to retrace your steps to figure out where you went wrong. But the past had changed with time. It was not the same for him. The memory of all the anecdotes and good times he had collected with pride over the years seemed tainted by the bickering and fight for something as menial as the possession of his property rights. He had got his son along to introduce him to his proud past, but the past wasn't there. And what was left of it was not something to be proud of either. Instead of finding out where he had gone wrong, he realized that the beginning itself was a mistake. He was too far gone to start all over again. Neither side seemed to be his. He was in the no man's land. I remember him crying while walking along the no man's land between Pakistan and India, and I felt sad for him. Little did I know, by the time we got back, I would have to start feeling sad for myself. My father was beginning to die. And this is an incident where I remember we were between the no man's land between India and Pakistan. And he kind of said to me, you know, I know there are a lot of confusing discussions about India, Pakistan, and I'm okay if this leads to some kind of controversy. But, you know, he was like, कि, यारा तू वहाँ चलेगा ना, तो वहाँ पे somehow he just told me, खाना भी better है, लोग भी अच्छे हैं, प्यार भी बहुत करते हैं. And he used to keep telling the bamboos are better in Peshawar. I don't know, for some reason. I've never found that out. Yeah, bamboos are better in Peshawar. And you believe your father, whatever he says. So till my dying day, I'll remember the best bamboos come from Peshawar for some reason. Yeah. And I remember he was walking in between the no man's land and he started crying. And you know, to see your father cry is like a mega thing for a 14-year-old kid. And he said, I said, but it was really nice, your country. And he said to me, you know, actually I'm feeling like neither that nor that is my country. This is my country. The no man's land that he was walking on, because he somehow felt he's not succeeded here, and his, you know, his past was not good enough to take him through where he wanted his son to be. And I truly believe that visit, not because of his cousins and his brothers, you know, that's whatever, that's a young kid's belief, but I think he just got so completely wasted by the fact that, you know, neither of the two things were working for him, his past or future. And I think he died that day while walking back. Because he died about 3 months after that. He came home and he fell sick, and yeah, so in spite of people telling me politically not to go to Pakistan, I have other reasons, which are a little more personal.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Shahrukh.